Well, if you've seen the other video on my channel, you'll know that I bought this Bullet Mustang just recently. Modified it a wee bit, put some new saddles on it, new tuners, and a Seymour Duncan in the bridge. Similar sort of style to the Cobain Mustang that you get. And I used to have one before myself, and I stupidly sold it because they're going for about 1,500 quid now. So anyway, since I got that one, I was looking for another Mustang. I was going to get another one of them in white, but I was looking a bit online just to see if I could see anything interesting, and I came across this. Now, when I first got this, it actually had two single coils in it, and a different pick guard. But what I noticed when I saw this on the website, it said that it was a Squier Mustang classic vibe. And I think you get them now. You used to get the vintage modified, and you get the classic vibes now. But when I saw it, there was a few things that I noticed. One of the things was the fact that it had a Fender branded trem system on there, which I've never seen before on a Squier model. And now this is brand new. I thought it may have been used. It's also got a rosewood fretboard on it as well. So I bought it straight away. As soon as I saw it, I've never seen another one, especially with the Fender bridge on it. So I bought it, but I found it interesting because I checked up the serial number because I was interested to see where it came from, because I've never seen another one like this. And it turns out that it was made in 2010, which seemed a bit strange because this is now obviously 2020, 10 years later. Where's it been? So I contacted the shop, and they told me that this was a guitar, a few that Fender had found in their warehouse, and offered it to this shop in England called the Guitar Centre or something. Nothing to do with that American one, but anyway, it's a wee shop down in England. They bought all the ones that they had found in their warehouse, and this was one of them. So I asked them if they knew anything about the fact that it had the Fender bridge on it. I asked maybe it was a used guitar, but they says it was definitely brand new. And sure enough, when I got it through, it was still in the original box. It said classic vibe on it. But the difference between this and the recent classic vibes as well, which I noticed, which made me think this was a vintage modified, was the white switches on it. If you look at the classic vibes that you can get now, they've got black switches on them. And the only other ones I've seen with white switches is a vintage modified. But the vintage modified have the skunk stripe up the back here, whereas obviously this doesn't. So it just was a bit of a mystery, really. So when I contacted them, this must have been an early run. It's made in China, so it's not Indonesian either. I think the most recent ones are Indonesian, and so were the vintage modified as well. So it's a Chinese-made one. It's really well built. It's one of the early models. As I say, it got left in a warehouse somewhere, forgotten about for ages, and eventually they came across them and sold them in this shop. And this was the only one they had, so I picked it up. Now it had the two single coils, and I like obviously the Cobain style with the Seymour Duncan in the bridge. So what I had to do was get a new pick guard for it, and get a Seymour Duncan trembucker, JB trembucker, and put it in here. So I had to sort of write out the humbucker space for the pickup to go in. I did that with believe it or not, just with a flathead screwdriver. I just kind of edged it out and chipped away at it slowly. It took a bit of time, but I got there. And I've got the Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge now, just the stock single coil in here. I also put on some Goto pin locking tuners as well, which are really stable. And I would really love to know if anybody out there has got either a vintage modified or classic vibe Mustang for around about that time with the Fender branded tremolo on it, because I've been bouncing this idea about with some guys that I know who are into guitars as well. They reckon maybe it was just a Friday afternoon or something in the factory, and it was the only part that they could find at that time or something, and they just put it on, and it just so happened to be the Fender one. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I'm just really interested to know if anybody else has got one with this bridge on it, this trem system on it, just to see if this is maybe the only one. I find it hard to believe this would be the only one that's got that. But it'd be interesting to know if anybody has got one like that anyway. But it's been a really good find. I've done a few upgrades, as I said, and it plays really nice and sounds really good. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So I'll maybe just switch it on and then let you hear it a wee bit. Let's see. really cool guitar. The only thing that's different between this and what you used to get in the stock Japanese Cobain Mustangs, well, apart from the fact this is a Squier and they were Fender, is I've still got the Mustang bridge on there, but what I've done is I've sort of put something in each one of the holes where that goes in, just to sort of get that tight in there so it doesn't move, because stock, they've got a really quirky trim system on. I don't use the trim anyway, I'm using it basically like a hardtail, and I've just put in like a wee bit of tape at either side just to hold it really firm. So it's performing well like that, so I don't really see any point in changing it. The Cobain ones had the Tune-O-Matic bridge, but with that the saddles sit higher, you need to sort of shim the neck so the action's not got to be too high, and it was just too big a job when this bridge was working alright. So there you go. But as I say, anybody message or comment below if you've seen one like this, or know anybody that's got one that came with this sort of bridge as stock, because I'm really interested to know. But there you go. So that's my second Mustang that I've got that's probably closer to the Cobain one than the one up there. What I'm going to do with that one is get a different scratch plate, one with a single coil in the neck, because I prefer that. I don't really use the neck much anyway, but I just prefer how it looks. So I'm going to change that and put a single coil, the one that I took out of here, put it in the neck of that one, and leave I've got a Seymour Duncan JB in the bridge of that one as well, and that way I've got the two of them. Build quality wise, this is obviously better. I had to do a lot of work to that one to get it playable, but this one was very little fret polish, lubricated the nut and stuff like that, so just pretty general stuff that you'd have to do in most guitars. But it's turned out really nice. If anybody wants to know any information about how I went about modifying it and stuff, then feel free to get in contact and I'll let you know how I did it. But I'm really happy with it. I don't know if you can see it in this light, but it's obviously the sonic blue colour. It looks kind of white when I see it in the camera there, but anyway, it's a really cool guitar. So yeah, there you go. This is the classic vibe, but old version of the Squier Mustang, which is now modified to be like a Cobain Mustang. So cool.